Hello everybody, this is your boy URPG with another game unboxing for ya. You know what? Some people have issues of me doing my game unboxings cause most of the time I am just taking them out of the packages that came from online sellers, not necessarily actual boxes that the games were put into. So from now on, I'm going to call it like everybody else does, game pickups. So a while back, I did a vlog of some PlayStation 1 games that I got from eBay. Well, I have some more. If you guys want to check more of my game pickups, just click on the link shown above. Let's load it up to the PlayStation and let's start. Oh, okay. So, right off the bat, we got Vagrant Story. Back in the late 90s, Squaresoft was arguably the king of JRPGs when it comes with the PlayStation. But in regards with Vagrant Story, the overall look of the game was never appealing to me when it first came out in the year 2000. At the time, I saw the game footages from magazines and people actually playing it. I had this feeling that it wasn't for me. The game's color scheme was dark, full of earth brown and green colors. The game was a mixture of action adventure, dungeon crawling, platforming with role playing elements that you can only control one character as you progress through the game. The developers use comic book style word balloons during dialogue, and the character designs and background environments are indeed from the PlayStation era. Apparently, the people who made this game also did Final Fantasy XII, and the resemblance is so obvious. Now, despite my initial thoughts of it, they say the story is unique and the combat system involves strategy and quick reflexes. I still cannot say for certain if I'm going to play this game, but as far as Squaresoft's PS1 gems go, it is not a bad idea to have it in my collection. Next up, we got Beyond the Beyond. Now, this game was considered as one of the first JRPGs that were released in the West during the infancy of the PlayStation back in 1995. Not the first JRPG that I played when we got our first PlayStation back in 98, but I did remember seeing this game in our local video game shops. And I was not into JRPGs yet, so I never gave this game a chance. 3 decades have passed and I have come to see this game for what it is. It is a typical fantasy role-playing game involving lots of cliched tropes inspired from games like early Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Phantasy Star. If there is one thing that made this game different from the other glut of JRPGs that came before it, was the active time-based attack system, meaning you need to press a certain button at the right time whenever your character attacks or defends. At the time of making this video, there are not a lot of online sellers who would put the complete US version up for sale. The ones that are out demand high prices on eBay, considering its history as one of the first RPGs for the PlayStation. If I played this game in the mid-90s, I would have praised this game more. Regardless, I'm lucky enough to include this in my collection. Third, right out of the box, we got Wild Arms 1. Wild Arms 1 came out in 1998 and received a modest critical and commercial success for the developer Mediavision after jumping the RPG bandwagon. A great contender as far as the RPG of the year if it wasn't for Squaresoft's Final Fantasy franchise. To be honest, it is also one of those JRPGs that I only played during the middle years of the PlayStation. The character sprites and background were designed in 2D, but the actual combat sequences were designed in 3D. For most of the duration of the game, you will control 3 principal characters: Rudy, Cecilia, and Jack. Each character has their own introductory prologue chapter, allowing the player to be accustomed to the game's basic command mechanics. Each of them has unique skills that will be utilized in certain points of the game. A remake and an upgraded version of this game was also released for the PlayStation 2 called Wild Arms Alter Code F. Wild Arms 1 was one of those JRPGs included in the US version of the PlayStation Classic, a very nice addition to my collection. I remember finishing this game at least once, but I have yet to play the PlayStation 2 remake. Next we have Vandal Hearts. To be honest, I played the sequel Vandal Hearts 2 first rather than this game, and based on the game footages that I saw, I believe the sequel was done better. Released in the spring of 1997 in the West, Vandal Hearts 1 got mixed reviews from critics and gamers alike, believing that this was a watered-down version of previous Shining Force games. Vandal Hearts 1 is a tactical JRPG, where characters move around in a isometric 3D grid-like environments, while the character sprites remain in 2D. The player has the liberty to assign different classes for playable characters, each class having advantages and disadvantages over the other classes. Before combat begins, different victory conditions may apply to advance through the game. One noteworthy thing with this game is the addition of brutality and blood every time a weapon hits a certain character. The complete Vandal Hearts 1 and 2 for sale online are quite rare, and if you happen to find either one for less than $150, I suggest you nab it. Next up, we got Hoshigami, Ruining the Blue Earth. The first I saw the gameplay photos of Hoshigami, it gave me Final Fantasy Tactics vibes from the character sprites to the battle maps. Hoshigami is a tactical JRPG that came out for the PlayStation 1 in the West back in 2001, but with a few notable differences in terms of gameplay. For characters to learn skills and magic, they must be assigned to one of the 6 elemental warships. The unique aspect about Hoshigami is the shoot system, in which the player can pull off devastating attack combos strategically by placing the characters in specific positions within the battle grid. Another memorable thing to me with Hoshigami was the secret dungeon to reveal the true antagonist of the game. Not only that the reveal caught me by surprise, but the effort to clear it was pretty daunting. Another thing that I have observed with this game is that a character will be permanently dead if not revived before the battle is over. Not to mention, the game requires you to grind for experience quite a lot. Last, we got Front Mission 3. Squaresoft was in the role with their JRPGs back in the heyday of the PlayStation 1, whether it is action, turn-based, or tactical. Another tactical JRPG hit of theirs was Front Mission 3, released back in the West in the year 2000. There was a time when I was hooked in mecha anime that this title was one of the best games for me. Despite of some graphical and combat limitations that critics initially pointed out, gamers were hooked more on the military drama aspects of the game. The characters pilot robots called Wanzers. Unlike other mecha-style RPGs that Squaresoft released such as Xenogears, the characters can pilot different Wanzers depending on the availability. Each Wanzer can be customized by upgrading parts, weapons, and armor. The pilot themselves can get in and out of the Wanzers to run across the field. The story revolves around the fictional military skirmishes involving Asian countries like China, Philippines, and Japan. Later on, America joins the fray. The story does tend to branch into 2 routes, each route with its own unique characters, Wanzers, and locations to fight in. There are a lot of stuff to read and understand, but once you grew accustomed to the narrative, the game will be such a wonderful experience. 6 more JRPGs were added to the mix, and if you happen to have anything to say about the games that were featured in this video, especially on my gaming experiences about them, please do put in there in the comment section. Give a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. See you again on the next video. Bye-bye.